Hello. Today General Hospital will reveal Alexis Davis, Nancy Lee Grahn, finds herself standing on the precipice of a decision that could alter the course of her life, and perhaps the lives of those closest to her, forever. After a series of increasingly tense and hostile encounters with Drew Quartermaine, Cameron Matheson, Alexis is teetering on the edge of taking a bold, irreversible action. What started as a legal battle has escalated into something far more dangerous, potentially spiraling into a confrontation that could result in Drew's downfall, or even worse. This moment in Alexis's life is not just about legal strategy, it is about her family, her loyalty, and the raw, unyielding desire to protect the ones she loves at all costs. The anger and frustration that have been simmering inside Alexis are rooted in Drew's recent actions, which have shattered the family bonds she's worked tirelessly to preserve. Drew's callous treatment of his own daughter, Emily Scout Quartermaine, Cosette Abinante, has only fueled Alexis's resolve to stand up against him. But the tension doesn't end with Scout. Drew's increasingly destructive behavior has created rifts within the entire Davis family, especially with Alexis's daughters, Christina Corinthos Davis, Kate Monsey, and Molly Lansing Davis, Kristen Viganos. Alexis has always been a fiercely protective mother and grandmother, so witnessing the pain Drew has caused these women, the very women she's devoted her life to supporting, has ignited a fire in her that is hard to extinguish. What's worse, Drew has continually pushed the boundaries of what Alexis will tolerate, alienating the people who were once allies and causing irreparable harm. As the situation worsens, Alexis is forced to grapple with the growing realization that she cannot simply stand by and allow this to continue. Her protective instincts are taking over, and she is no longer content with using only her legal expertise to defend her loved ones. Alexis is now contemplating much more drastic measures, actions that might cross a line from legal advocacy to outright defiance. While Alexis has always been a woman of intellect, using her sharp legal mind to fight battles in courtrooms, she now finds herself considering whether more extreme, unorthodox methods are necessary to regain control over her family's future. Specifically, Alexis is intensely focused on ensuring that Drew does not continue to harm Scout, and by extension, her entire family. In this moment, her maternal instincts are far stronger than any legal strategy she could devise. She is willing to do whatever it takes to protect the people she loves, even if it means taking a step into morally gray territory. Fans of General Hospital have been speculating wildly about the possibility that Alexis may resort to using a weapon to confront Drew. This potential development harkens back to Alexis's past encounters with Helena Cassadine, Constance Towers, where a certain iconic dagger was wielded in a series of vengeful acts. Could Alexis, driven by the same fierce loyalty to her family, be contemplating using such a weapon to intimidate or even harm Drew? While the mere thought of her doing so is shocking, it is not entirely out of character. Alexis's wrath, fueled by her love for her family and a deep-seated anger at Drew's actions, could drive her to the brink of such a drastic decision. However, it is important to consider that Alexis may not be planning to actually harm Drew. Instead, it's possible that she is simply attempting to send him a message, a threat designed to make him back down from his pursuit of Scout and further destruction of her family. The idea of Alexis using a weapon could be a psychological move, a calculated effort to regain the power she feels slipping through her fingers. The tension this creates within her character is palpable. While she is no stranger to wielding her intellect as a weapon, the possibility of her using physical force adds a dark, dangerous layer to her already complicated relationship with Drew. Despite the tension in the air, one cannot ignore the very real risks of such an escalation. Even if Alexis intends to use the weapon as a means of intimidation rather than harm, there is a very real possibility that things could spiral out of control. A confrontation between Alexis and Drew could quickly devolve into something far more violent, especially if other family members, like Christina and Molly, become involved. The fallout from such a confrontation could rip the Davis family apart, leaving deep emotional scars that may never heal. Alexis's actions, no matter how well-intentioned, could have disastrous consequences, not only for Drew but for everyone involved. The question now becomes, will Alexis be able to stop herself before things go too far? As her fury reaches its peak, it's becoming increasingly difficult to predict whether she will be able to pull back from the brink of chaos. The stakes are incredibly high, and the personal cost of this decision could be devastating. Alexis's drive to protect her family has always been her greatest strength, but it is also what puts her on a dangerous path toward destruction. If she is unable to rein in her emotions and her instincts, she risks losing everything: her career, her family, and her future. In the end, the fans are left wondering what the outcome will be. Will Alexis's desire to protect Scout and her family drive her to make an irreversible decision? Will she cross a line from which she can never return? Or will she find a way to regain control of the situation without sacrificing everything she holds dear? What happens next will undoubtedly shape the future of the Davis family and the dynamics within Port Charles. As Alexis stands at the crossroads of this dangerous decision, one thing is certain: nothing will ever be the same again. Alexis Davis, Nancy Lee Grahn, finds herself caught in a web of escalating conflict, where the stakes have never been higher. Her battle with Drew Quartermaine, Cameron Matheson, has not only turned personal but has begun to tear apart the very fabric of her family. For years, Alexis has fought to protect her daughters, Christina, Kate Monsey, and Molly, Kristen Vaganos, as well as her beloved granddaughter, Scout. But with each passing day, her fierce love for her family is pushing her toward decisions that may irreparably fracture everything she holds dear. Alexis's journey has always been one of strength and resilience, but now, the choices she faces could destroy the bond she has so carefully nurtured. The tension between Alexis and Drew has become palpable. It started with subtle manipulations, but Drew's actions have spiraled into a series of events that have left Alexis on the verge of making a drastic, life-changing decision. Alexis's relationship with her daughters, once built on trust and mutual respect, has become increasingly strained as Drew's influence continues to destabilize their family dynamic. At the heart of Alexis's fury is her deep concern for her daughter Christina, who has always been the more headstrong and impulsive of the two. Christina's fiery personality has often caused friction within the family, but it was Alexis's role as a mother that always allowed her to guide and protect her. Now, as Christina becomes more embroiled in the drama surrounding Drew, Alexis finds herself questioning whether her daughter is truly prepared for the consequences of her involvement in this battle. Christina, already caught in the aftermath of her own recent decisions, such as her aggressive revenge on Ava Jerome, Maura West, is walking a fine line. Her actions are not only jeopardizing her relationship with Alexis but could also lead her down a dark path where the law and her family's well-being are at stake. The emotional toll this is taking on Alexis is immense. Watching Christina's increasingly erratic behavior makes her feel as though she's losing her daughter to the very forces she's trying to protect her from. Alexis has always been her daughter's protector, guiding Christina through the turmoil of her own life, but now Alexis is confronted with the terrifying possibility that Christina might be too far gone to save. Meanwhile, Molly, who has often been the peacekeeper within the family, finds herself reluctantly drawn into the conflict. Molly has always tried to avoid confrontation, preferring diplomacy over direct action, but with the intensity of the situation escalating, she can no longer remain neutral. As the pressure mounts, Molly must decide whether to stand by her mother, who is clearly on a path that could lead to her own destruction, or whether to distance herself and protect her own future from the fallout. Molly's internal conflict is a poignant one. Her loyalty to her mother is undeniable, but she also fears the repercussions of Alexis's increasingly reckless actions. Molly is caught in the middle of a war she never wanted to be a part of, and the emotional weight of this situation could be enough to cause a rift that may never heal. At the center of all this turmoil is Alexis herself, who is spiraling into a state of desperation. Her role as a mother, protector, and attorney has always defined her, but now, she's questioning her own abilities to protect those she loves. Drew's continuous overstepping of boundaries has pushed Alexis to her breaking point. She can no longer rely solely on her legal expertise or her diplomacy to right the wrongs Drew has caused. The emotional toll of seeing her family fractured by his actions is breaking Alexis down, and she is beginning to consider drastic measures to restore order and control in her life. Alexis has always prided herself on her intelligence and her ability to manipulate the law in her favor, But now, with Drew's power and influence looming large, she finds herself contemplating a course of action that is far more dangerous, one that involves using tactics outside of the courtroom. In the heat of the moment, Alexis could resort to more extreme methods to regain control. As a lawyer, she understands the importance of leverage and the consequences of crossing legal boundaries, but her overwhelming desire to protect her family might blind her to the risks of making a decision that could cost her everything. The community of General Hospital fans has been buzzing with speculation about Alexis's potential for using violence to settle the score with Drew. The thought of Alexis wielding a weapon, reminiscent of her past encounters with Helena Cassadine, Constance Towers, is a shocking but compelling possibility. The image of Alexis, once a calm and calculated figure, now resorting to such extreme measures to protect her family, would mark a significant departure from the woman she once was. It's unclear whether this would be a moment of desperation, a final plea for control, or a calculated move to send Drew a message he cannot ignore. However, what is clear is that Alexis is on the edge of a precipice, and one wrong step could send her plummeting into a chaos she cannot escape. As the tension between Alexis and Drew continues to build, the effects on their family are undeniable. What was once a family bound by love, loyalty, and shared history is now a fractured group on the brink of collapse. Alexis's actions could very well send shockwaves through her relationships with Christina and Molly. The two women who have always been her support system may now find themselves questioning their mother's judgment, fearing the consequences of her choices. If Alexis continues to push too hard, she risks alienating her daughters, losing their trust and respect in the process. The deeper Alexis sinks into this conflict, the more it seems like she is losing herself. She is no longer the calm, calculated lawyer who once navigated the legal system with ease. Instead, she is becoming a woman driven by anger, fear, and an overwhelming sense of powerlessness. Her quest to protect Scout and her family has consumed her, and in doing so, she is jeopardizing the very thing she is trying to safeguard. The more she fights for control, the more she risks losing her family, her career, and her own peace of mind. The question that looms over Alexis now is whether she can stop herself before it's too late. She is standing at a crossroads, with every decision she makes threatening to tip the scales in a way that could destroy everything. The possibility of losing custody of Scout hangs heavily over her, and this alone could push Alexis to take even greater risks. The emotional cost of this battle is mounting, and if Alexis doesn't find a way to regain control over her actions, she could lose more than just her family, she could lose herself in the process. As the situation grows more dire, Alexis must ask herself whether it's worth it. Will she continue to fight until there's nothing left to salvage, or will she find a way to stop the cycle of destruction before it's too late? Each moment that passes brings her closer to an irreversible choice, and the future of the Davis family hangs in the balance. If Alexis crosses the line, there may be no coming back. But if she pulls back, can she salvage what's left of her family before it's too late? Only time will tell, and the consequences of her actions could echo through Port Charles for years to come. Alexis Davis, Nancy Lee Grahn, stands at a crossroads, her entire future hanging in the balance. The battle she's facing with Drew Quartermaine, Cameron Matheson, is not just about legalities or family disputes, it's a fight that cuts to the very heart of everything she's worked for, her family, her career, and her own sense of identity. After years of navigating the murky waters of Port Charles, Alexis finds herself caught in a conflict that could tear her apart both emotionally and legally. As she faces off with Drew, the stakes have never been higher. The battle between them is escalating, and each move Alexis makes could determine not only the fate of her family but her own future as well. Alexis has always been known for her sharp legal mind, her unwavering loyalty to her family, and her ability to navigate the complexities of the law to protect those she loves. But this time, her battle with Drew isn't just about legal maneuvering, it's a fight that challenges her on every level. Drew has pushed her to the edge, and Alexis now finds herself in a position where every choice she makes has the potential to alter the course of her life forever. Drew's manipulations have caused a rift within the Davis family, and Alexis is left to pick up the pieces. Her relationship with her daughters, Christina, Kate Monsey, And Molly, Kristen Vaganos, has been severely tested, and the damage is threatening to go beyond repair. Alexis's ability to protect her family, particularly her granddaughter, Scout, is being undermined by Drew's relentless pursuit of control. The toll this is taking on Alexis is evident. Her once unwavering confidence is now marred by self-doubt, and her every action is scrutinized by both those around her and the viewers. Alexis is faced with a difficult decision. Does she continue to fight with everything she has, risking everything in the process, or does she pull back and try to salvage what's left of her family's unity? She knows that continuing the fight with Drew could cause irreparable harm to her relationships, particularly with Christina and Molly. The more she fights to protect Scout and defend her family's honor, the more she risks losing the very thing she is trying to preserve. If Alexis pushes too hard, she could lose the trust of her daughters, alienating them in the process. It's a heartbreaking thought for a woman who has spent her life building a family around love and loyalty. The situation is complicated even further by the fact that Drew is no ordinary adversary. He has proven time and again that he is a master of manipulation, capable of using the emotions and vulnerabilities of others to further his own agenda. Drew's actions have shown that he is willing to go to extreme lengths to achieve his goals, and Alexis is no longer sure what lengths he will take next. What started as a legal dispute over Scout has evolved into a full-blown battle for control of Scout's future, control of Alexis's family, and control of the legacy each of them is trying to build. Drew's power in Port Charles and his ability to maneuver through the legal system with ease put him at an advantage that Alexis cannot easily overcome. He is not just fighting for custody of Scout, he is fighting to tear apart everything Alexis holds dear. As the pressure mounts, Alexis finds herself questioning whether she has what it takes to win this battle. The growing tension between Alexis and Drew has reached a boiling point, and the emotional stakes could not be higher. Alexis's determination to protect her family is matched only by her growing sense of desperation. She is no longer playing by the rules, her emotions are clouding her judgment, and she is beginning to act in ways that are increasingly unpredictable. Drew has played a part in pushing Alexis to the brink, forcing her to make choices that could irreparably harm her family. At this point, it is no longer just about defending her loved ones, it's about Alexis's survival in this battle. She is fighting not only for Scout's future but for her own peace of mind and for the relationships that have been tested to their breaking point. Despite the emotional turmoil, Alexis has a unique advantage, the support of the public. Fans of General Hospital are rallying behind her, hoping that she will rise above the challenges Drew has thrown her way. There's a sense of justice in the air. Viewers want Alexis to win, to overcome Drew's manipulations, and to restore the balance within her family. The overwhelming support for Alexis adds a layer of pressure that she cannot ignore. She is not just fighting for herself and her family, she is fighting for the audience's respect and admiration. The stakes are no longer personal, they are about proving to the world that Alexis can overcome the odds and emerge victorious. However, Drew is not an easy opponent to defeat. He is playing a dangerous game, one that involves calculating every move with precision. Drew knows exactly how to use his charm, his intellect, and his connections to stay one step ahead of Alexis. He is aware of her vulnerabilities, and he will exploit them at every turn. Drew's cold, calculating nature makes him a formidable foe, and Alexis is finding that defeating him requires more than just legal acumen. She must outsmart him at every turn, anticipating his moves before he makes them. This is a game of high stakes, where one wrong move could be fatal, not just for Alexis, but for her family as well. As the battle intensifies, Alexis is forced to ask herself whether she is willing to go to any lengths to defeat Drew. She is no longer just fighting for custody of Scout, she is fighting for her family's future and her own dignity. The idea of losing everything she has worked for is too much to bear, and she cannot allow Drew to have the upper hand. But at what cost will this victory come? Can she truly protect her family without losing herself in the process? Alexis's struggle is one of immense personal cost, and the consequences of her actions will resonate far beyond the courtroom. As the tension continues to build, Alexis is forced to confront the possibility that Drew may not be her only enemy. The real enemy may be the darkness within herself, the rage and fear that drive her to make choices that could destroy the very thing she is fighting to protect. The deeper she dives into this conflict, the more she risks losing herself in the process.